I'm just loving studying this. I'm like, and when I'm studying that, I just want to jump up and down. I want to run. I want to holler. I want to, So the last time I taught, I spoke on Psalm 91, verses 1 and 2. Tyler, do you have that one ready to go pretty soon? All right. So you heard that, ain't you? Okay. So the first one will be up, and then the next one, we've got him so bombarded with jobs, he's trying to get to all of them. But I want to start out by reading Psalm 91, and I'm going to read the New King James Version, but I may skip over to the English Standard Version and the New Living Translation. Who knows, maybe even the Message. But I just like to bring out the different translations because it amplifies, the word. So let's go ahead and start, and let's read, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High." And many other versions says, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, that's translated shelter, shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge. Let me back up just a little bit. I will say, He is my refuge, my fortress, my God. In Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. And remember what we said the first night, these promises in Psalm 91 are only for those who make the Lord their hiding place. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. So I am still encouraging everybody to try to memorize this chapter. And I do want to just point out some different things, how that's the New King James, but other version says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High," and where it says the perilous pestilence, King James says the noisome pestilence. And I'm going to bring that out and explain that. And others say the deadly pestilence. And so anyway, we're gonna go through that tonight. I'm going to start on verses 3 and 4. Verses 3 and 4. And this is from the English Standard Version here. "For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness," and I want to point that out, where some translations is the truth. It is the truth, but it's the faithfulness of his promises, which is the truth, and is a shield and a buckler. So I want to just start with that. Today, Morgan, she said today that baby Lincoln was getting his first shots, and I had messaged her this morning, and I said, I hope he does well. I said, just praying Psalm 91 over him. And she said, she texted back. She said, I did all night last night. And so that not only made me feel like she was a good mother, but it made me feel like I was a good mother. Yeah, I'm just starting her right off with children, and we need to know Psalm 91. But how many of you have ever, well, I'd say some people have done this, but for those of us who don't hunt, how many of you have ever seen a trapper, go deep in the mountains and bait a steel trap? Have you done that, Uncle James? Yeah, okay. Okay, and so in this translation it says the snare of the fowler, but different translations also, the fowler is the trapper. The trapper. So you've seen I guess when you bait the steel trap, you cover it with branches and stuff like that to hide it. And so because some unsuspecting animal is going to come along and step into the trap. Well, those traps out there are not by chance. They're not by accident. You put the traps out there on purpose. And so, that's the way it is with us. The trapper, when you're setting a trap, you're being very strategic about the location and what you're hoping to capture. So it's the same way with us. The devil, he is very strategic. He is the trapper. And he sets the traps, and he's just waiting for us to come along and step in those. And so this picture, what I'm trying to give you is a picture of what the enemy does to us. What he does to us. The traps are custom made for us. It's as if they've got our name on them. Because he knows what it's going to take to hook us. And it's a slow and it's a painful process. We don't die instantly. We're ensnared until the trapper comes along to destroy us. The enemy knows exactly how to get to each one of us because he's been watching us all our life, the same as angels and the same as the Holy Spirit and Jesus. He knows what it is. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, Paul tells us to not be ignorant of the schemes or the traps of the enemy. And 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 4 through 5 says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal." They're not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses. We are destroying speculations and every lofty and high thing that's raised up against the knowledge of God. And we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Jesus Christ. Satan is the trapper. So not only God delivers us from the snare laid by the trapper, but this verse also says, let me go back to verse 3. "For he will deliver you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence." And some translations says the noisome pestilence. And it all means the same thing. And so I'm going to tell you what that really means. Now, pestilence is not something that attacks crops. It's deadly diseases, contagious, infectious, deadly diseases. And I looked up some meanings on the pestilence. And the noisome pestilence, noisome means it rushes rushes on. And also means noisome, also means it's mischievous and wicked. And on down in one of the verses, we're going to talk later about the pestilence that prowl at darkness. Listen, disease comes to kill us, comes to destroy us. And this verse talks about it. A pestilence is any lethal disease. It's fatal, contagious, epidemic. It's devastating, destructive, and it's overwhelming to a population, overwhelming to a community. And some examples that I found of that were like the bubonic plague and the black plague. And, you know, in this day and time we're living in, especially if you watch the news or if you have social media, are we not hearing more and more and more of infections and viruses and diseases that they're a mystery. They're just killing people within like 24 hours, and they don't know what strain it is. They don't know how to cure it. But I'm not worried because God has given us Psalm 91 to protect us. Oh, yeah. But that word noisome means intent to destroy. Intent to destroy. It comes to kill and destroy. And also, when I was looking at pestilence, it's also one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in Revelation. But God says here, I will deliver you from the deadly disease that comes with the intent to destroy. That's what he's saying here. God's promises cover spiritual enemies and cover our physical enemies. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad? He covers it all. He covers it all. And his power operates on all levels, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. We are protected inside and out. Inside and out. Matthew 8:16 and 17 says, When the evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon-possessed, and he cast out the spirits with a word. I love that. He cast out the spirits with a word. And healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, He himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses. So I'm so glad that this verse covers everything. Do you ever feel like you have opposition coming from all sides? I have. I've felt like I've had opposition many times in my life. Sometimes I feel like it's just coming from all sides. The enemy's attacking my mind. He's attacking my body. He's attacking my family. He says, But this verse addresses all of the enemy's attempts and assignments, whether it's physical or spiritual. There are enemies that attack our minds, and there are enemies that attack our bodies. And these verses, listen, what a treasure. Psalm 91 has all the promises of the whole Bible. Amen. The whole Bible in one chapter. It ensures our deliverance from all varieties of harm. Whatever the devil tries to do to us, we've got Psalm 91. And so the snare of the trapper and the deadly pestilence. So we're protected all around. Let's go to verse 4. I love verse 4. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. Let's just stop there for just a minute. And let me just read a couple other translations. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. Let me grab my place here. He will cover you with his feathers. He will shelter you with his wings. Let's just stop there just for a minute. So many times we quote Isaiah 40 and 31. It says that those who wait upon the Lord will mount up with wings as eagles. We know that verse really good, and we quote that verse. But Isaiah 40 and 31 is talking about the flying wings. The flying wings. Psalm 91 is talking about the sheltering wings. The sheltering wings of God. Isaiah 40 and 31 is those wings, the flying wings, they're about strength and accomplishment. But Psalm 91, when it's talking about the sheltering wings of God, is talking about protection and familiarity. It's talking about being with the one who knows us. And I apologize for this. I've got one. Well, okay. Let me take a drink just a second. Like I said, I apologize for that. But this verse here paints us a vivid picture of being under the sheltering wings of God's protection. And it paints a picture of the warmth of a nest and the security of being under the wings of nurturing love. I love this, the nurturing love of a mother with her baby chicks. And so is everyone protected under the wings? Well, again, it's those who seek refuge. It's those who seek refuge under the wings. It's those who choose to take refuge. It's those who choose to trust him, because some translations say those who trust. And so it's about choosing to run to him for our refuge. When I've been reading and watching videos on baby chickens. And I even got advice from Allison Hoskins, which I'm going to read her comments. If y'all know Allison Hoskins, she's here. She's got a lot of chickens. And so I consulted with her as an expert. And but I was reading that when baby chickens are scattered in a yard and something like a hog comes flying in or something, a dog or anything that could be of danger, that she squats down and spreads her wings, and that she will even begin to cluck and telling them to run, and the chickens run to those outstretched wings. I just love that. And then she pulls her wings in tight, tucking every chick safely under her. Listen, for the hawk to get the babies, he has to go through her. And this is the picture that God is trying to give us here. For the enemy to get to us, he's got to go through him. And he can't go through him. We have to run to him. He's trying to tell us in this, I am your refuge from the rain, from the dangers, whatever it is. I am your protection. I will cover you, and nothing can get to us when we are covered by his feathers. I want to just, I want to just kind of read just a little bit here what Allison, if I can just give me just a second here, what Allison told me today. I asked her if I could, use her stuff, and she said that she was just telling me just different things. She said, I asked her about, she's got some baby chicks, and she said they hardly ever leave her. But she said the mother will make a whistling sound to get them to her. And she said that when one comes, the rest will follow. And she said that usually they go everywhere she goes. But I really like this. She said that the other day, she said her game hen about whipped her. She said when it was because she got too close. She said the game hen just about whipped me. She said she swelled up and almost got me. And she said then instantly the chicks ran to her and she instantly covered them. And so, you know, I just thought that, you know, that's just it's a true picture, But I want to read Matthew 23:37 and listen to this. Listen to what Jesus said. "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often I wanted to gather you children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing." Notice the contrast in this verse right here. Notice this, God's willingness and our unwillingness. His wanting to, our not wanting to, our not willing to. His I would have against our would not, you know. So listen, there's actually protection offered that we don't accept. We don't accept. It's offered. I mean, Jesus, in that scripture I just read in Matthew, Jesus uses the correlation of a maternal love to demonstrate his attachment to us. And when I thought about that, I thought, wow, his attachment to me, his attachment to you. He's wanting to demonstrate his attachment to us. I just believe that's just so powerful. Listen, there's a fierceness to motherly love. How many mothers will say that? You mess with their babies and you're toast. you know. So listen, it's not only nurturing motherly love, but there's a fierceness to the motherly love. She will come after you. She will protect her babies. And that is the picture that God is trying to give us in his words. He is deeply committed to us, deeply committed. But at the same time, we can reject his outstretched arms. We can reject that. It's available, but it's not automatic. We've got to run to him. Libby, we've got to run to him. We've got to run to him. He has made every protection possible. Every protection. And when we run to him, when we run to God in faith, the enemy will have to go through him to get to us. I won't fear. I shall not fear. Listen, let's go on to read the rest of verse 4. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. And it's also translated, his faithfulness is a shield and buckler. His faithfulness, the truth, he's faithful to his promises, his faithful promises. It is God's faithfulness to his promises that is our shield. That's our shield, his faithfulness to his promises. God will be faithful to the promises he has made. He will be faithful. And when the enemy comes to us and whispers things to our mind, when he brings fearful thoughts or condemning thoughts, all we have to do, listen, we can hold our head up and square our shoulders back, and we can say, my faith is strong because I know my God is faithful. And his faithfulness is my shield. I have the best shield. You have the best shield. You have the best shield. It's his faithfulness. And it doesn't waver. It just never ends. It never stops. His faithfulness is my shield. That's what I will tell the devil. His promises are faithful. 2 Timothy 2:13 says, if we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. I mean, we dwell in his shelter by faith. The shelter is the secret place. We dwell in his shelter by faith. We talked about that the last time. How can I dwell in his shelter? We do it by faith, just like we get saved by faith. And listen, faith is not hard. Faith is simply, listen, I would even write this down. Faith is simply our response to what Jesus has already provided through his blood. Faith is just our response to what Jesus has already done, already provided through his blood. And just as we can never do enough work or enough deeds to keep our salvation, we can never perform good enough or perform as many deeds to keep ourselves in his shelter. I'm there by faith. I'm there. I told you all that when I was diagnosed with cancer, this chapter came to me, and I began to think about he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. And I don't say this boastful, but I say this to tell you, when the bad news came, I mean, fear is not something that I felt, and I have had people say, you had to be afraid. You had to be afraid, and I'm sorry, but I wasn't. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm not trying to say, it's okay if you were. But that shelter, I lived there. I lived there. And I didn't feel like I had to say, Jesus, where are you? Where are you? I need you. All I had to do was just look right beside me. I just had to look, and I just said, Jesus. That's what living in the shelter is. That's what living in the shelter is. We dwell in his shelter, not in our own righteousness, but in the righteousness of Jesus Christ. It's his righteousness. Psalm 91:4 expresses God's commitment to faithfulness, to being our shield of protection. His unshakable faithfulness. Let's read it again. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. You shall not, and his truth, his faithfulness shall be your shield and buckler. His faithfulness is literally a shield for us. And Uncle James, his faithfulness can never diminish, can never break away, can never end. It's his. I know I'm shielded because his faithfulness cannot end. His faithfulness, the shield is God himself. The shield is God himself, and it will completely hide us from the enemy. Completely. He can look for me, he can look for you, but his shield will completely hide us from the enemy. His shield will remain forever steadfast and available. But whether we stay in that protection, that's our choice. That's our choice. We have to run to him. We have to choose. Listen, we have no power in ourselves to rescue ourselves. We have no, I cannot help myself. When I was facing cancer, there was, Uncle James, nothing that I could do to make it go away. I did what my doctor said because I believed that God was working through my doctors. But me and myself, I couldn't heal myself, Jill. I wanted it gone, and I could not make it go away. We have no power to rescue ourselves. So we have to choose solely to trust in his faithfulness. God's faithfulness is our buckler. And I really studied that word because so many, there's so many different translations use different words there, but they all mean the same. It's protection. It's a shield of protection, but it also is translated a city wall. It's also translated, I thought, how can God be all that wrapped up in one? He just is. It's not just a shield of protection, but it comes from the root word. I looked it up in Strong's Concordance to the Hebrew and into the Hebrew, and it also means a strong tower. A strong tower, a city wall, and these city walls where defenders would shoot arrows at the enemy before they could get to anybody, and throw somehow big stones at the enemy before they ever got there. Before they ever got there. So it's a wall of protection. It's a tower of protection. It's a shield of protection. It's our defense. It's our defense. Actually, when I was studying that word, our buckler, this song, "This Is How I Fight My Battles," came to my mind. I'm just like, he is a wall around me, because one of the definitions in the translations means to be surrounded. Surrounded by a covering, surrounded by a wall, or surrounded by a shield. And so I began to think about that song, "This Is How I Fight My Battles." I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded. And while I'm surrounded, He is fighting the enemy for me. He's not going to let the enemy get to me. He's not going to let the enemy get to you. He's not. But I'm going to end right there on that. I could stay here all night and just keep talking about that. But I'm telling you, we need to know Psalm 91. We need to memorize it. We need to read the different translations. We need to study the root of it, and we need to get it down in us, because in the days that we're facing, the things, when I got Mom and Dad from the airport Friday, when I got them off the airport, I said, "I know you probably haven't heard this yet, but there's been another shooting in near Virginia Beach, and in a government building." I said, "They're saying 11 people are killed, and I don't know, was that the last total? 12. And listen, and I'm like, I work in a government building, but it doesn't matter. It's the schools, it's churches, it's malls. We need to be praying Psalm 91 over our lives, over our children, over our family, because the evil is just rampant. It's rampant in the world, but we have protection. We have protection. You might say, it almost sounds too good to be true. It almost sounds unfair. It's a gift. It's a gift. We're His children, and He, just like we will do anything to protect our children, He has done everything, and we are completely protected. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much.